Everyone knows that in order for you to lose weight, you have to eat less and exercise more. But what no one tells you is that for women, this can backfire. Yes, especially if you are 40 and over, maybe 38 and over. If you're starting already to get into the early stages of perimenopause or your postmenopause, this approach can be the reason why you cannot lose the weight. I know here are gonna come many people to tell me that calories in, calories out is what matters. And yes, that is true. I am not saying that does not matter. Calories in, calories out is a thermodynamic law. We cannot go against that. But we cannot take only one mechanism out of a big picture. We have to consider other things that weigh in that recipe, like female hormones and hormonal dysregulation. And if you don't consider that, yes, calories in, calories out in paper is the reason why you lose weight. But then please explain to me how some people can be in 1,000 calorie deficit a day or more and not lose weight. Yes, and I'm going to debate and say like they're not measuring the food right, that they're probably eating more than they think they're eating. People, I work with this population. This is not the majority of the cases, but there are some people that can't lose weight with extreme calorie deficit. And I have seen it, and I have not only seen it with my clients, I've been there. I did such a calorie deficit and overtraining back in, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, that I gained 30 pounds while training for a triathlon. I have told this story before. And let me clarify how this happens, because yes, you are going to lose weight with a big calorie deficit at the beginning. What happens is like you do a calorie deficit, big one, and you start losing weight. At some point, you hit a plateau, because as a female, you start getting hormonal dysregulation. And when this happens, your body doesn't want to get rid of the fat anymore. So you hit a plateau, and what you probably do is like you start exercising more and cutting more the calories. And then eventually you start gaining weight, even though you are barely eating. This happens. I see it with my clients. I have many clients that have been in this situation, and I myself went through this. So when people go on social media and say this bullshit about hormonal balance are just excuses for people that don't really put the work in, they have just not worked with this population. That is something very easy to say when for you it's easy to lose weight. But trust me, and I'm going to show you examples, and I'm going to show you labs that show the hormonal imbalance in which women will never lose weight, no matter how much of a calorie deficit they have. I am Karen Oliver. I am your host, and I am a certified health, nutrition, and menopause coach. If you like this type of content, please hit like and subscribe so you can get notified when I post new videos, and that way you help me with the algorithm. In this video today, you are going to learn why women, especially 40 and over, but it can be at any age if you go to extremes. But 40 and over, it is very common why women that are under-eating gain weight, even though they're under-eating. I'm going to explain to you why this happens and how it happens. Then I'm going to interview one of my clients and a good friend that when she started working with me, we did a food log and she was barely eating anything. She gained weight. It was impossible for her to lose the weight. And we work on making her eat more, and she has lost a lot of weight by eating more. I want you to hear this from her. And I'm going to show you what science says about this phenomenon and how metabolism, cortisol, and calories are a big recipe. You cannot take only the part of that recipe that is calories in, calories out. You have to consider everything else when we're talking about women. And that's the reason why some people hit menopause and they cannot lose weight. Listen, there's a famous researcher and fat loss specialist, Bill Campbell. He has a PhD and a lab, and what he does is fat loss. And lately, his wife hit menopause and she gained weight, and this guy tried to help her lose weight with all the knowledge he has. He's like one of the most important people in the fat loss research area. And he couldn't make her lose weight with the normal strategies. So now he's dedicating a lot of time on researching why women in menopause cannot lose weight. What I'm trying to tell you is he used to think what everyone else thinks, which is, nah, they're just not doing the calorie deficit, they're just not doing it right, that's why they cannot lose weight in menopause. And it is not like that. And he proved it because the thing that opened his eyes was his wife. Because he saw what she was eating, he was the one telling her the protocol to lose weight, what he has used with millions of people to make them lose weight, and it was not working. So he started working on this, and he's done big research. And yes, there are women who, due to the hormonal imbalance of menopause or the hormonal imbalance of a calorie restriction, can't lose weight. And they just need to eat differently and eat more. So you're going to learn all that in this video. And how to start refeeding, how to start that process from undereating to start eating more without gaining fat in the way. Before we interview Jennifer, I want to tell you my story about how this happened to me. I used to train for triathlons, running, I did horseback riding. I've always been into sports. I was always lean. And at some point, I wanted to get a little bit more competitive because I've never been super competitive. But I don't know. I got in my head that I wanted to lose a little bit of weight just to be a little bit lighter so I could be faster. I was training for a half Ironman. So I started cutting my calories down. I started cutting my calories and I started working out with the purpose of hitting a certain calorie deficit a day. And I remember it was 1,000 calories a day. So I had my training plan, but I would make sure to add training time just to hit that deficit. I knew I was eating this many amount of calories and I wanted to have 1,000 calorie deficit a day. So my training stopped, kind of changed from being performance driven by calorie driven. This is the first mistake. And I see this with many of my clients. They concentrate off like, I'm going to go for a run. I need to burn 800 calories. Not, I'm going to run this many miles. It starts getting into almost a mental health issue because we switch our target to something that is not healthy, which is the calorie deficit. Well, that's how it happened to me, and that's how it happens to many of my clients. I see it. So I started 1,000 calories deficit a day, and of course, I started losing weight. And I got very, very lean, and it was fantastic. Eventually, I hit a plateau, and I stopped losing weight. And I wanted a little bit more weight loss for who knows what reason, because I didn't need more. So what I did, since I hit a plateau, I started training more. I added more training and more training. I was training like 6 hours a day. It was insane. And I started gaining weight. I just couldn't get it. I did not have the knowledge I have, and I didn't have anyone around me to say, hey, look, open your eyes, this is happening to you. I started having really bad issues with sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I was so awake and up that I would just start my day at 3 a.m. So I was sleeping maybe 4 hours. It was hard to fall asleep at night. And then I would wake up around 3 a.m. and it was impossible to stay in bed. Like, I tried everything and nothing worked. So I was just start my day at 3 a.m. And to be honest, felt amazing because I was super energetic. Like, yes, let's do this. I would wake up at 3 a.m. full of energy. It felt fantastic. Like I was Wonder Woman, super powerful. But that was the beginning of a really bad cortisol dysregulation. The next step was I was like out of nowhere in the middle of the day, I was absolutely energy depleted. I remember being at work and I would need to just get in my car and I would sit there and just fall asleep. Get in my car to nap. It was not possible for me to stay in my desk and work. It's not functional. It was like something was taking over me. And I would just sit in my car, open the window, die there. Like there was no way to function. There you can start seeing that cortisol dysregulation, what people call adrenal fatigue, that let's clarify before someone chews my ass. Adrenal fatigue is not a medical diagnostic, but it's what people understand for this list of symptoms. Right. It's actually a hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis dysfunction. That's how your hormones, it's like a cascade of work and it starts not working. So my cortisol got absolutely dysregulated. Of course, after this, I start having binge eating attacks. Cravings, like really bad cravings. I remember coming back from a bike ride and I would need to go buy a whole chicken, like broiled chicken, and I would eat it all and then I would eat a lot of chocolate. And then in my head, I would be like, well, I've been like in a big calorie deficit all week and I just train 5 hours so I can eat whatever I want. And it was just once a week, but then it started happening like more often. Not everyone gets these binge situations, but for me, it was a big problem and it got almost like a mental health issue. I was so obsessed with the calories, so obsessed with losing the weight. Then I would overeat and feel so guilty about that behavior. And then the next day, I would restrict even more. It got in a down spiral that was nonstop. And again, not everyone gets to this part. My situation was really bad. But that's how you gain weight, by undereating. How I got out of this situation? I study, and this is kind of like the beginning of this career that I have now of health coaching, etc. And I took myself out of this situation by stop high intensity training, just going for walks for a long time, and fueling myself. I start eating more. It took time. I did not lose weight at the beginning. It took a lot of time. But that is my experience. That's how it happened to me. It doesn't look like that for everyone. But it does look like people cut calories too much, they lose weight, then they hit plateau, and then they keep restricting calories and they cannot lose weight anymore. And some people even gain weight with this huge calorie deficit, and it's because they're completely dysregulating all of their hormones. It happens. It is more common than you think. Even clients that are with me on a weight loss journey, like I have clients that have lost around 40, 50 something pounds in the first year of work with me. And at some point they hit plateau. And when that happens, I make them do a food log. So they send me pictures of everything they eat. And most of the time, they are restricting themselves too much. And I go and I tell them, like, listen, we're going to add calories because you're not eating enough. I didn't make them that restriction. Actually, I don't restrict. We don't work with calories in my program. It is a non-restricted program. One of the rules is like you're never supposed to be hungry. But they are so happy losing the weight they're losing that they want to lose more and they feel confident and they start restricting their diet more because they want to see more. And they hit plateau or even gain weight. And funny thing, we add calories and sure thing, they start losing weight again. I know it sounds counterintuitive. It sounds impossible. It sounds like we're trying to defeat thermodynamic laws with this. We're not. Calories in, calories out is still what rules the weight loss. But you have to consider other things when you're working with the population, female 40 and over, that are starting to have hormonal fluctuations due to menopause, that may have thyroid issues or sluggish thyroid, and there may be postmenopausal. You have to consider other things. So, well, this is kind of like my story and the most common story I see among my clients. And now let's see what Jennifer has to say about her experience with undereating, weight loss, energy, and menopause. All right, so we are here. This is Jennifer. She is my very good friend, and also she was my client. And she's here to talk today about undereating and not being able to lose weight and how she lost a ton of weight by eating more. So Jen, welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Good to see
Hello.
you.
Good to see you. Okay, let's just start with a little bit of your background. Tell us what was your goal when you started exercising. I know you started running. Did you always struggle with weight, or was that kind of recent? And let's just tell us about you a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to start losing weight probably during COVID. So I would say it was like 2019. And I started running, and I did not realize that I was like probably at the tail end of perimenopause. So just going into menopause and not really losing a whole lot of weight. Went to the doctors and talked to them, and my doctor was just like, this is where you're at. When you go into perimenopause or menopause, you are not able to burn the same amount of calories because your metabolism slows way down. So the best thing to do is decrease your calorie intake by half. And I think that was like the worst thing that I could do because I decided
Oh my God.
that I
So this
just,
came from a doctor.
yes.
Okay.
And put me on antidepressants. So between those two things, super fatigued. And I think half of that had to do with being on antidepressants and being in menopause. And then, of course, cutting my calories by half. So what that meant to me was I just wasn't going to eat anything all day, and I just drank coffee. So, and I exercised and I was running, nothing. I was not losing any weight. In fact, I was getting bigger, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then I would have binge things where I would binge eat candy was my thing that I would do. Um, I also was putting a lot of creamers in my coffee, like the flavored creamers, not like sugar free. And I think that's been a huge thing of just completely cutting out those creamers. Well, I'm also not drinking like 5 cups of coffee a day.
Yeah.
I sometimes drink 2 cups of coffee, but typically
It's not a meal anymore.
no. Because when I would get
Wow.
hungry, I would drink a cup of coffee.
Right. Just to, deal with the hunger. Yeah,
Yes.
this is so common. Like what you're telling me right now, it is like everyday thing, of course, and my job, right? It doesn't
Right.
mean it happens to everyone, but to the people that happened, it is so sad. You were actually gaining weight by
Yes.
starving yourself.
Yes. And I think when I started with you, I might have been almost 200 pounds. And I just remember I asked you, do you think I should do like Ozempic?
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, maybe you should try something else first. Like that was another extreme of like going from not eating to, I'm so glad I didn't do that. And the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that you did was like, what does eating look like? And I'm like, well, I don't eat anything. And I was so proud of myself. Like I thought I was going to come to you and you're going to be like, well,
Like,
it
you're
sounds like,
doing so good. Yeah.
yeah. What
I
willpower?
remember I remember we started with a food log, so I could see. It's what I usually do. Like the first week is like, okay, send me pictures of everything you eat so I can see what's happening. And I remember texting you often. So you have not ate anything since yesterday, because it was like 4 p.m. and no picture
Yeah.
from you. And you would be, well, I had coffee, and I'm like, oh my god, what is happening here?
Yeah.
I have. We were just talking before the interview. I have one of the pictures you sent me from back then, and it's a chicken salad. And I'm gonna try to put it here if my technology allows me to do this. I'm gonna try to put it here so people can see it. It's a salad with just lettuce, a little bit of avocado, and maybe 2 ounces of chicken, maybe 2 ounces. And that's when you were already eating. Well, like that was like, look, I had protein. You were
Yeah.
telling me, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah. So
Yeah.
um, first thing we did was I put you in the protocol to eat more often, to start the morning with protein. How did that feel? Because you came from eating just one meal a day, if I'm right, right? And
Yes.
then I come and tell you like you have to eat the first hour that you wake up, and then every 3 4 hours. How did that sink? Like how did that feel?
It was really hard, but it made me start to realize because I never thought I had like any kind of weird relationship with food or anything like that. I always felt like I was pretty healthy in that regard. And I realized that I kind of looked at food as like the enemy. That was the reason I was gaining weight. And so I had like decided to sort of cut it out until I just couldn't handle it anymore. And then I would eat a bunch of gummy worms. That was like my,
Gummy worms.
yeah.
You were stealing your kids' snacks.
Yes. Yes. So I would eat like, I would have like my breaks and I would just eat like a thing of gummy worms, a whole entire package of gummy worms. And it was just so counteractive to what I was trying to do. And so I had to start really realizing like that food was not the enemy, that food was going to like fuel me and help me. So just eating first thing in the morning was so hard for me. But then I started, like the fatigue really
Mhm.
started to go away. And and I was like, maybe I'm tired all the time because I'm hungry. So, and even some of like the brain fog that I was experiencing was starting to
Mhm.
decrease because I think a lot of what my problem was due to hunger. And then just realizing like I need to have willpower to not eat gummy worms, not willpower
Mhm.
to not eat anything all day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's such a smart comment.
Yeah.
Exactly. Many of the menopause symptoms start going away when you stop starving yourself,
Yeah.
because starving yourself only increases the hormonal change and makes it worse. So the brain fog, the fatigue, etc., all that starts like improving when people start eating more.
And
Were
go ahead.
were you able to add calories quick enough, or it took you a long time?
I think it took me like almost the whole summer because I still had that guilt of eating like an entire chicken breast.
Mhm.
Like I would have to like section it out and eat it sort of throughout the day because I
Mhm.
felt guilty and I felt like it was too much. Um, and so it was a lot of just like going back and realizing. But once I started feeling good and things started, like my body started reacting, it was when I was able to like let all of that go. And it
The
just,
fear, right? Because yeah.
yes. And that I
Uh,
wasn't,
did you start losing weight right away when you
No,
start adding calories?
no.
How was it?
It was so I think I may have like lost actually I think in the beginning when we were doing the weigh-ins cuz I think you gave it 2 weeks and then I was weighing every week and I was losing
Mhm.
like a pound,
You
which
were losing weight. It was a slow, but
yeah,
you were losing weight. I
it
ask
was.
you this because some people gain a little weight at the beginning. So I don't want it to sound like the magic pill, like, oh, I start eating and I'm going to start losing weight. Like
Yeah,
it needs, like your body needs time to kind of assimilate what's happening. Like, oh, I'm in a safe space because your body comes from this idea that she's going to starve me to death. So
yeah,
whatever you give your body at that point is going to hold on to it with the thought that, okay, let me hold on to this nutrition and to these calories because tomorrow she's not going to feed me anything, right? So some
yeah,
people gain weight at the beginning, and this is an important piece to understand because it's scary. You already come from the fear, like you just said, like I'm gonna eat more, I'm gonna gain weight. And picture like if you gain weight, oh my god! But pretty soon, the weight loss comes, and then at the beginning it was very slow. Then we stopped doing the weigh-ins, but I know it started coming down.
yes. And
How
then
long did it take?
it took I think it was probably maybe August, well, maybe September, I felt like is when I really started to notice it. So I
And
have
you started in
I started what? Say that again.
when,
Oh,
when did you start it?
so I think I started in June, I started with you. So it was probably September is when my body finally was like, I just started really dropping weight. And I was like, whoa, what is happening? Like, where you could really tell a difference. I was like slowly losing weight, but then it just like hit. And then it,
It just started happening. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it
And
is common. Like the first 3 months are slow, and this is like I think one of the reasons people fail with dieting in general, no matter what the approach is because the first 3 months you don't see as much of a result, and they quit just when they're about to start seeing the results.
yeah. Yeah. And it really was like a lifestyle change of just really starting to realize like I can eat. And I appreciated how you started me out. Like you didn't really say like you were like, I want you to eat every 4 hours, I think was what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't really
Mm-hmm.
give me like this set thing of what to eat. And then we would talk about like, okay, you can eat like a full breast of chicken. Like you don't have to eat half of a breast of chicken.
Yeah.
Um, and then just like you slowly eased me into it, which helped because I
Mm-hmm.
think if I would have just been like, this is what I need to eat and I need to eat a full breast of chicken, I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
convinced.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when my body started catching up, it really helped for me to see like, oh, maybe there is something to this because it's
Yeah.
so
Oh,
like,
maybe this works.
yeah, it's so like ingrained in us that you shouldn't
Yes.
eat. If you want to lose
Yeah.
weight, you shouldn't
Work
eat.
out more, eat less.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is bad. And Jan, how about the cravings? Did that improve? Did you still have cravings once you start eating better?
I did still have cravings, and I think it may have been more psychological for me. And then I
Mm,
remember you telling me to take sugar-free Jello and yogurt, the
mhm.
uh, unflavored yogurt, plain yogurt. Sorry,
Yeah, the Greek yogurt. Yeah.
yeah, the Greek yogurt. And I started eating that a lot. Like that became my new gummy bear. And you were like, just a teaspoon. Don't like eat like a whole thing of jello or anything. But it helped. And then I just like stopped needing it because I think I just started realizing that it was okay to eat and I was allowing myself to eat. So now if I feel like a craving for something, I think I'm like, you know what, I probably didn't eat enough today. And so I'll grab something to eat.
That you just said is like one of the biggest highlights of all this. When we have cravings, most of the time it's because we didn't feed ourselves enough.
Yeah.
Often in people that are trying to lose weight, they have cravings towards the end of the day. When that happens, it means you didn't eat enough during the day. But we don't see it like that. We then
Yeah.
we we allow ourselves to eat whatever it is that we were craving, and then the next day we undereat because we overate yesterday, and that's how you create that down spiral. So that you just said is genius. Like when you start having a craving that is not the normal, like what did I eat? Is this me under fueling again? That is
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
And so I try to like, yeah, try to have more protein the next day, or, just try to be more aware of like listening to my body when I'm hungry, to just grab a snack really quick, like, also just like watching the time of like, oh, like it's been more than 4 hours, because things, your day gets away from you and you forget, and you're like, oh, I'm hungry. And just like really like just having that relationship with your body, that you are listening to it and not just ignoring those feelings, which I think I was in that space because I just was convinced that that was how I was going to lose weight, was just going to, I was going to starve myself, and I was going to lose, I was going to drop all this weight because that's what I could do in my 30s and my 20s.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just, I mean, it wasn't healthy then. But
Right, but it's another metabolism, so it
yeah,
works. This is one of the common things like people tell me when they start with me. They tell me like, I know I need help because before I used to do, I don't know, 3 days of green shakes and I would lose the 5 pounds, and now nothing works.
yeah,
You do it when you're 20 and it works
yeah,
because like the engine is different, right? Once we start hitting our hormonal changes, the engine, it needs more love,
yes,
basically.
yeah.
Jen, I know you don't weigh yourself often, but you have an idea of how much weight ballpark you have lost?
So yeah, I'm like, I'm terrified of the,
I
the,
know.
the scale. So I'm at 150 and I started at 190. So, and my goal was 145. And I did not think that I was going to get there this quickly. Like
This is less than a year,
yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
or let's say a year. Yeah. And it was by, you didn't do biggest changes. It's like, no, you didn't start working out more. You just started eating more. And that eating more, does it mean more whatever calories, or you try to healthy calories?
yes. So yes, that's a lot of like balancing, like it's not eating carbs, but just healthy carbs. Like when I do, like I have my bread, my 45 calorie
Mm-hmm.
bread that I,
Delightful, yeah.
yes, that I eat. Like I always have a sandwich. And
Mhm.
so those types of things. I have like my popcorn. I like popcorn. So I'll pop my
Me
little
too.
thing of
Yeah.
popcorn. And I don't, I think nuts have some carbs in it. So I do
They're
have,
mostly fat and
okay.
protein, yeah.
So, and then, yeah, so I'm just like, I don't try to eat like a donut, those types of things. But in the
And
beginning, it
do
was
you
hard.
allow yourself, like if you go out, do you allow yourself to have the dessert, or are you restricting yourself?
So I still kind of restrict myself because sugar is kind of I
Mm,
could just eat that. Like sugar is
it's your
something,
trigger.
yeah. but, but I will, like when I go out to eat like Mexican food, I'll have chips and salsa. And, I just try to like have like, I take my chips and I put them on my plate and then I break them up and I'll eat
Mm,
them like that. So just trying to
smart.
be mindful, I guess, like you had
Hmm.
taught me, like eating one
Yeah,
kernel of popcorn instead of like a thing of popcorn.
yeah. You
And
have
just
to have the intention, right? That's what I
yes,
like talk about often with my clients. It's like it's not gonna happen just because you want to lose weight, or just because you have to put the work in and have the intention and have your strategies, like you're just saying, like smart ones, like, okay, I get the amount of chips that I'm going to eat, I put them on my plate, that's it, I don't go over that, and then I enjoy them by breaking them. Or same with the popcorn, I just eat one at a time, I do the same. It requires intention, but you have found balance, so you allow yourself to get the dessert if it's a special occasion. You allow yourself to eat the chips, you just don't eat them every day.
yes, yeah. And I think it's so funny because I work with kids and kids really teach you that, because when you see them, little kids, because I work with preschoolers, when they eat, that's how they eat. They'll take like
Mhm.
some, like a piece of popcorn, and they'll eat that popcorn in like 2 bites. And
Yes.
it's like, what? But I think so. I think we've always been that way. And
Mhm.
somehow I don't know, I just got into, I think just because life is so rushed, and
Yes.
eating and slowing down and just really like enjoying what I'm doing, and then taking my snacks, and maybe, if I have to eat that really quickly, it's just a snack. It's not like my actual meal. So I've made my meals kind of my sacred time of when I eat, like my dinner and stuff, so that I can be really intentional about how I'm eating, and just remembering that like food is not the enemy. I think that was my
Mhm.
biggest thing, is I had to get to this
Yeah.
space where I didn't look at food as something that was making me fat, which I felt like that's what I was doing. So I had
If
to
you
change.
if you if you can compare, paint a picture for us of how a day of eating looked for you before and how a day of eating looks right now.
So I would only eat dinner before. So I would wake up in the morning and I would have a cup of coffee, no protein, just coffee
With a lot of creamer.
with, yeah,
So it
lots of,
was sugar from the beginning.
yes. And then probably mid morning, another cup of coffee, again with all of that creamer. And then I would, because I'm a teacher and we work with the kids, I would eat a little bit sometimes of lunch, but like in the summer, nothing. I would not eat anything at all. And so just down some more coffee. Then at dinner time, I would eat dinner. And sometimes that dinner was not,
What was
like,
dinner like? How did that look like?
yeah, so it would be like if I was making spaghetti, it would be spaghetti and bread, and I'd have like 3 bowls of spaghetti, and it was, and I knew like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, but I was so hungry that then I would eat. If we would have, a hamburger or something, I would eat like half a hamburger, and then go back later and eat the other half, and all the french fries and things like that. So, and I think I was probably eating some like Chick-fil-A and stuff, because Aiden loved Chick-fil-A. So we would eat that. Just not, they weren't good dinners. And a lot of it was just like I was so exhausted and so hungry that I was
Mm.
just eating because I was just trying to fill
Yeah,
that.
it gave you pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
And
comfort food.
yes. And there
Yeah.
wasn't really anything. Yeah. And I don't know. And then, of course, I was also like running,
Mhm.
and my runs were horrible. And I just felt exhausted, super fatigued all the time. I was just in a constant state of fatigue. It was really unhealthy. And I don't think I realized how unhealthy it was until I started eating, which sounds so stupid.
Sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
And how does a day of eating looks like now?
Now. So I wake up and I have my yogurt, and then I'll have my coffee with my protein. I go and do my workout. And then when I come back from my workout, I have some eggs. And I usually have fruit with my eggs. And then, you know, would go to work. And um, at lunch I would eat lunch. So I always eat, like, now it's typically a sandwich, just a turkey sandwich, and I'll also usually have a piece of fruit or a salad with my lunch. And then dinner is always going to be protein. I've stuck to protein in a salad because that's what works for me, and I'm pretty like, that's pretty much just what I eat, because I know like I'm not going to deviate from anything unless I go to dinner, like go out for
Mhm.
dinner. But I don't do, maybe once a week I'll go out to dinner, but that's about it.
Okay, and how about snacks? What do you have as for snacks?
So I have nuts like almonds. I really like almonds, so I'll have almonds, and then I also have those little they're like mini rice cakes.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yes,
those
yes.
little
The Rice
tiny.
Krispies, like yeah,
Yes, and I have them
yeah.
in a little like snack pack.
Mm.
I have tons of them. So I just take one of those and I try to eat them throughout the day. So when I'm at work, uh, and I've also started to recognize some of my times where I feel a little bit more triggered, where I just want to eat. And for me, it's nap time when the kids are napping. Sometimes I'm working and I'm lesson planning and I'm just like wanting to have something. And so that's when I'll open that up and I'll have like two of them. And oh, and I have Diet Coke. So
That's
I
perfect.
was, I'll have my one little Diet Coke and I'll have a
Mhm.
Diet Coke either then or at dinner. And that's like my
Great.
treat.
You found your systems,
Yeah.
and you found what makes you happy, and you have like a good balance. You do like 80% of the time you eat pretty good, and then you can go out and still enjoy food. Food is not the enemy,
Yeah.
which is what we would like for everyone to
Yes.
to figure out. But you did put a lot of work into it and a lot of intention, and you keep working on it a year after it. um, yeah, so congratulations,
Thank
because
you.
you've done
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah,
Well,
I'm so
thank you. Yeah.
excited to have the opportunity to interview you, because I'm sure this is going to help so many women that are around our age, like either starting perimenopause and they don't even know it, or postmenopause and they are in this under eating, under fueling, fatigue, etc. And they're terrified to add food, and
Yeah.
that's what is going to take them out of that situation. But they need to listen from someone that really
Yes.
went through it. What would you say to what would you say to yourself if you were starting this process right back in June? Now that you have gone through it, what would you tell yourself at that point when you were feeling all the anxiety, or you were afraid of the system? What would you tell yourself?
I mean, I think just trust the process. Like I really had to let go of all of my like all of the stuff that my relationship with food, and really like trust that what you were coaching me through was really going to work. And it just that it was going to be okay. And when you go back and think, like, of course, why would you ever think that starving yourself was going to be a good thing? But it really, to
But
me,
it's what we learn.
yes.
But
And my
it's not your
doctor
fault.
told me, like, cut
So
your
your
calories
doctor
by
told
half.
you.
Yeah. And so I
Yes.
was like, by half? Okay. So, I mean, I think at that time I
So
was
I
calorie
have
code.
a curiosity question. Were
Yes.
you counting calories when you went to the doctor back then?
Well, yeah, I was trying to stay within 1,500 calories. And so I
And
went,
and they asked you to go half of that?
yeah, she was like, just cut your calories in half. And so I was like,
Oh my
okay.
God.
So, and to me, that was like, well, just don't eat.
And you gain weight like
Yes.
that. Just
Yeah.
just to repeat it. I know you said it before, but I want people to hear it.
Yeah.
Like, so you went from 1,500 calories. Wait, how tall are you? So people know.
Oh, I'm 5 feet.
You're
So,
5, and you were around 200 pounds,
yeah.
and you were doing 1,500 calories and not losing weight. Were
Right.
you gaining weight on those 1,500 calories a day?
No, I think I was kind of just
Maintenance.
maintaining. Yeah.
Okay. And
Maintaining
then you
weight.
went to the doctor and they told you to cut that to half. So 75, oh my God,
Yes.
750 calories a day.
Yeah.
And you start gaining weight.
Yeah. Then I started kind of blowing up and I was
Yeah.
like, maybe I should go on Ozempic, is what I thought. Cause I was just like, something's wrong with me. And they did all
Of
the
course.
tests and they like,
And what did the doctor say about Ozempic?
the
That option?
doctor
Did
was
they
just,
consider the option, or no?
no, she was just like, no, you need to just watch what you eat. She was like, you're not a candidate, but she's like, you can go to a med spa and they'd probably give it
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is what
But
most people do.
yeah, but
Yeah. I wish everyone would give a try, like what you did, right? First, give it a try. I have nothing
yeah,
against the something, any GLP GLP-1 agonist. I think they have their purpose, and there's people that really would benefit from them.
Yeah.
But most people go into it because it's too easy. And if they don't work on their habits, what would have happened to you? I'm going to tell you. You would have gone on Ozempic. You would have lost the weight faster, which would have meant also more muscle mass loss, which is not great. And then once you would get off the drug, you would have gained the weight back
Yeah.
because you would have gone back to exactly your same nutrition habits. The drug
Yes.
doesn't change anything within you or in
Yeah.
your metabolism. It just makes you eat less, technically.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like
Yes.
I have like a lifestyle change versus just like this quick. And I think I was looking for some sort of quick fix. Obviously, I wasn't eating. So it was like,
We all do that.
yeah. And so I think that this was it was a healthier way, especially for longevity. Like I wanted to be able to do things when I get older. And I don't think that I knew it was going to have to be like kind of a long process. And I'm glad that I'm glad I took the journey because it's definitely worth it. The journey was worth learning that relationship with food and who I am and what I can do and what I'm not able to do. Just looking at my like limitations. And it's just been, yeah, I feel so much better in my body.
I love it, Jen. I think you have tackled every single thing of the important things here, like the mental peace part. You have tackled the hormonal, physiological fatigue, like how you feel, the long term effect of just changing your lifestyle. Like you have done an amazing job over this year, and I hope you just stick to it forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, and I think doing it the way that I did it because like it just gets easier now,
It
like
gets
especially
easier.
with food. Yeah. It gets easier. It's not like, oh, okay, I cannot eat my gummy worms today.
Do
Now
you
I'm just,
count calories now?
no,
No,
no. And like I said, I don't even, I've always been weird about scales. So I don't weigh myself. I just kind of go off of really how I feel has been probably the best thing for me. I should get on the scale more, but it's just, I know
it
for
really
me,
doesn't matter. The scale is just like I use it as a coach because it tells me how things are working, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is your clothes, how it fits, if you're feeling good or not. Like you look like a complete different person. Like it's amazing. Like that's what really matters. Is the scale is just a number.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
don't feel like you have to do it.
I look at pictures and I had a picture that I took at the gym, like my gym picture. And then they took I lost my card and they took another picture of me. And
And
then
the
I found my card and I looked at the two pictures and I could not believe it. I was like, what? This
yeah.
is crazy. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's amazing. Well,
yeah,
Jen, thank you so much for your time
of course.
because this is like of so much value for everyone. Thank you. And I'll
Yes.
see you around then.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
You too. Bye.
Well, you heard the story from her. What happened to her? It is pretty common and it's backed. Science backs this up. When women undereat, their cortisol gets dysregulated. And then at some point, like you saw with her, most people start having binge attacks. So here's where calories in, calories out kind of matters because you undereat, but then when you eat so much that you damage all the under fueling or the calorie deficit, but you're still under fueling and you're usually not eating the foods that are going to fuel the system. You don't have the minerals, the vitamins because you choose crappy food. Women that undereat, grow their belly fat because it promotes belly fat and it breaks muscle down, which is not good. You also lose leptin sensitivity. And leptin is the hormone that tells your brain that you're full. And this is how you start getting like this. You heard her, like I was starving. Like I was so hungry when the night time came and she was ready to eat her one meal a day, she was starving. So she would overeat. And then the other thing that happens is when you underfuel, estrogen drops. And if you're already starting in perimenopause and your estrogen is already dropping, you're just creating more of a damage in that hormonal imbalance. And of course, science proves this too, when you do a extreme or when you have a calorie deficit, not even extreme, your metabolic rate slows down. So your metabolism in general slows down. So you start burning less calories. Even if you change your habits, you're going to burn less calories for a while. Reason why some people gain weight when they start the refeed. When you start the refeed, don't be afraid to gain around, 4, 6 pounds. One, because you're going to have more glycogen, your muscles are going to be more packed, full of water. But also, that body that was starving is like, oh, she's feeding me. Let me hold on to all this fat, all this food, these calories, because she's going to starve me again. And once your body realizes, oh, we're in a safe place. She keeps feeding me. Oh, then, okay, now I can start losing the fat. See? But you have to stick around, like she said. Like, it didn't happen from one day to the other. It was a mental struggle to add food. I remember she mentioned the chicken breast, and I remember telling her, okay, you can have for dinner chicken breast, like, and we would see a picture, and it was like a third of a chicken breast, and I'm like, where's the rest of the chicken breast? Oh no, this is what I ate. It was hard for her, and it is hard for most of my clients, but I hope listening to Jennifer gives you some sort of clarity, some sort of why you could be gaining weight even if you're starving yourself. She mentioned she was at 1,500 calories. I don't like anyone going under 1,400 calories. Unless you are tiny, and when I mean tiny, I mean petite in general, not only short, because if you are 200 pounds but 5 foot, you still burn a lot of calories. Now, if you're 5 foot but you weigh 110 pounds, then it's different. Then maybe you can go, of course, you can go under 1,400 calories because you don't burn that many calories. But for most people, that's not the case. So 1,400 calories is kind of like a safety barrier. You should not go under that. And I don't like people having more than a 500 calorie deficit a day either. We're talking about this population, you, me, my listeners, which are women that are struggling with hormones, perimenopause, postmenopause. More than a 500 calorie a day can lead you to these struggles. The mental health piece of this problem is huge. I have many clients that in their past, when they were teenagers, had eating disorders, right? So they kind of have overgrown it and they are doing well. But once you have an eating disorder, that's something like, it's like a chip that stays there for the rest of your life. You're always afraid you're going to fall back into the eating disorder. And you kind of always have that back burner idea that I don't want to eat too many calories or I don't want to gain weight. It is really hard. But the thing is, it is so hard for someone that has been in a calorie deficit and you tell them that they need to eat more. They freak out. Examples of one client, we increased her calories and she had, for the first time in like 2 years, a piece of cake at her husband's birthday. So many birthdays have passed. She has not tried a piece of cake ever. Okay. She had, for the first time, she allowed herself to have a little piece of cake. It was like a shape. And she texted me and she said, you know what? I have the piece of cake like you suggested, being me, suggested that. And I felt so guilty. I felt like I was doing something wrong. This is terrible. Women cannot live with that fear. That is not okay. We need to be able to eat everything. There should not be forbidden food items. We should be able to eat whatever it is. We just need to learn to eat healthy enough so we can eat whatever we want when the time comes. I'm not saying you're going to eat cake every day, but this idea that we cannot eat. I have a Mexican client that told me that she feels like she cannot eat tortillas ever again. What? Why? Who said that? This is not okay. And this becomes part of the mental thing. I'm going to go through some questions that I have seen or I have been asked when we increase calories. One is, okay, Karen, if you tell me to increase calories now, I'm going to work out more. That is not the answer. We're increasing calories so we can be kind to your body. If you start working out more, then it defeats the purpose of increasing the calories. You're supposed to reduce the amount of calorie deficit that you have, because the calorie deficit is what's taking you to this adrenal fatigue or hormonal dysregulation or whatever you want to call it that you're having. It is a calorie deficit. So maybe sometimes it's not about eating more. It depends on the specific client, on the specific person. Sometimes some people are eating enough, they're just working out too much. Then in that case, the answer is work out less. Some people have both things, which is the majority. They're over working out and they're under eating. Well, in this case, we reduce intensity and we increase the calories. You need to believe in the process, because at the beginning it's going to be really hard emotionally. And you also may gain a little bit of weight at the beginning. So you start gaining weight and you go back to your old habits. It is your body it doesn't know what to do with this food that you're giving it. But eventually, this is the way you're going to start losing the weight. How do you increase your calories and not feel overwhelmed if you have a past of a eating disorder or an actual eating disorder? Because if you're eating 1,000 calories a day only, and you burn, 2,500, you have an eating disorder. How do you start this process without feeling overwhelmed or too scared? Well, you start little by little. You add only 50 calories a day. I usually go from 100 to 150 to 100 calories. That's what I add at the beginning. We cannot add a lot. You cannot go from 1,000 calorie diet to a 2,400 calorie diet, because you're going to gain weight. And mentally, it's going to be almost impossible, even your digestion. So you just add something. If you have a really bad anxiety regarding the amount of food that you eat and gaining weight, well, you say, okay, I'm going to keep eating what I'm eating, but I am going to add half a banana a day. That's how slow you can go. No one says you have to do this fast. No one says you have to fix this from one day to the other. These things take time. If you have been in a big calorie deficit for a long time, this can take a year. And you need to understand that and be kind to yourself. So what do? You add an apple a day. And ideally, you're going to add healthy calories. This is the other thing, that people then get confused and they start adding candy bars. No. You're not going to lose the weight. You're not going to help your hormones. You're not going to do anything good. When we start refeeding, we add protein, healthy proteins. We add healthy fats like avocado. We add healthy food. See? Healthy carbs if you're fatigued, like fruits, banana, a couple strawberries. You start adding just a little bit and you say, okay, I'm going to eat half a banana every day for a week or two. And then if I feel good and everything is fine, then I'm going to eat the full banana. And then if everything's good and I feel fine, then I'm going to add a quarter of an avocado to my daily. And that's how you go. There's no need to create more stress, but you need to believe in the process. I told you at the beginning that I was going to show you some labs that have this hormonal dysregulation. So these are labs of clients that have over-restricted and over-exercised themselves, or somehow they have got to this stage of, let's call it adrenal fatigue, which, again, that's not the right term, but everyone understands it. So if you see here, this client, this lab that you see here, look at the cortisol curve. So this person does not have an cortisol awakening response. Cortisol is supposed to go up in the first 30 to 45 minutes when you wake up. It's supposed to go up 50 to 100%. This person wakes up with the cortisol high and it remains there, so it's blunted. It has no effect. And then it drops. This is cortisol dysregulation. This person is fatigued, wakes up not feeling energized or refreshed, and then it drops to lower levels than it should. So it is extreme fatigue. Her estrogen and progesterone levels are very low, lower than they should be based on her age, etc. But the most important piece here is there is a big imbalance in between estrogen and progesterone. So both hormones are low, but she is estrogen dominant, even though estrogen is bottom line. So she's going to have all the symptoms of estrogen dominance with her estrogen level being low. This was created by an extreme calorie deficit. Her testosterone is low. Her DHEA, which is a precursor of testosterone, is low too. This matches her mineral test. Whereas you can see here, she came as a slow oxidizer, which means her metabolism is sluggish. Like her metabolism is not working properly. This is based on the ratios of her calcium and potassium and sodium and magnesium, which indicates there's an imbalance. There's a stress, and her system is in a catabolic state. It's degrading muscle mass all the time. For her, it's going to be super hard to build muscle mass, even though she lives consistently. It is going to be hard to build muscle mass because she is in a catabolic state. This, when you see this type of test and it comes as a slow oxidizer, it usually is associated with decreased bowel movement, decreased sweatings, more cravings, tendency towards blood sugar imbalance. It is pretty common picture for insulin resistance or pre-diabetes. And the thing is, how did she get here? That is the question. I was giving a seminar the other day, and that was the question asked, like how someone gets to this picture. Well, with all you've heard today, with Jennifer, like behavior, like how Jennifer was doing it, how I was doing it, this is how we get here. This is overtraining, undereating, and the only way to get out of here is to fix all this first. So then you can start working on the weight loss. You cannot start working on the weight loss before fixing the metabolic damage that this extreme calorie deficit has caused, if this makes sense. So first we work on the hormones, we replenish these electrolytes and minerals, we rebalance the system, we take her out of that slow oxidizer system where she's catabolic. And then when her machine is working, then we start working on weight loss. And this is the reason why when you start refeeding, you may gain weight. Because the system needs, it's like, oh yes, give me all this, give it to me. And it sticks to it. Once that new nutrition and calorie intake and those minerals hit, then your body decides and it's like, okay, let's lose the weight. If you feel that this resonates with you, that this may be you, and you're interested in running this test and know more about this, I am leaving here a link for a 15-minute free consultation with me, where you can talk to me about what your struggles are, ask me questions, and ask about this test and how to get them, and I'll be more than happy to help you. If you're in this cycle, like Jennifer was, stop extreme calorie restriction. Don't go under 1,400 calories. Add protein. Eat often during the day. Start slowly doing a reverse diet or a refeed at 50 calories a day, 150 calories for a while, and then add a little bit more. And lift weights. Keep lifting weights because that helps your metabolism. It helps insulin resistance. It helps with a lot, strength, longevity, and it's not high intensity. Avoid high intensity cardio. If you want to do cardio, go for a walk. Walk a lot, but not high intensity activities. And if you need help, if you feel like this resonates with where you're going through and you need help figuring out how many calories you should be eating a day or what your macros could be, I'll be happy to give you a 15-minute free consultation where I can help you clarify a good calorie intake for you and your overall macros. I'm going to leave here a link for you to schedule this 15-minute free consultation. And if this helped you in any way, or you know anyone that this can help, just share it. Share it with as many friends as you can. And I'll see you on the next one.